Welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm your host, Hamza Idris. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our social platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and watch us live on YouTube. Yes, I still have Nicole Grossman. She's a visiting scholar at CDD, and we have Paul James, Program Manager, Yaga Africa, and Mbo, Deputy Director, Accountability Program at the Center for Journalism Development and Innovation. Welcome once again.
Thank you.
Yes, I ask a question. I hope this one is not tough.
Not at all.
Yes.
I would say that the Kaukasia movement has been there for a while, but
they made it serious.
Not, I wouldn't think it has grown beyond a region, given the outcome of the presidential results that we saw.
But a certain presidential candidate is alleging that if not for him, he will have made it to the villa.
By the numbers that he got, we won't say that it has become, we could say it's a regional ideology for now. The obedient movement is barely how many months old, so it's still taking time. It's still forming, I want to believe. So let's see how the obedient movement does in the next 3, 4, or the next election cycle. If it's still there and strong as it is, then we can say maybe there's an ideology forming.
Yeah.
But apart from that, if you were to ask me what's the ideology of the PDP right now, I may not be able to tell you.
Or APC.
Or that of the APC. Because
and this because we have 18 political parties.
Yes,
and their manifesto almost the same.
Almost the same.
Because they are one and the same thing.
That's why it's so easy for them to just wake up today and say, I belong to this party, and then tomorrow, and then they'll still fit in.
Yes, Paul, 2 questions for you. The first one, how do we address this issue of lack of ideology? And then the second one, looking at the electoral map, don't you think INEC deserves some kudos? Considering how the electoral map, when you look at it in 1999 and how it appeared this time around, where political parties actually crisscross across all the 6 geopolitical zones.
Well, first, about the issue of ideology, I think if we look at what has happened from this election, there was a trigger that allowed people also to form certain beliefs and help to push through their agenda. For the young people that supported the obedient movement, it was a trigger from the NSAS that happened. And also, if you recall, just after the party primaries and how the primaries were conducted, the candidate that emerged sort of spurred another new wave of interest in the politics and necessitated INEC to even extend the period of voter registration. And then as the momentum was sustained even beyond that period until the election. There was an event that Yaga Africa with other partners organized, and then in that event alone, one in Lagos, one in Abuja. For the Lagos event, over 11,000 people young people were registered, and then at the Abuja event at the Old Parade Ground, over 17,000 young people registered to pick up their PVC because they had a belief, and they stayed true to that belief until the elections happened. And then for the first time, we are beginning to see voters trusting in the process, believing that their votes truly can and they will have a say. For the first time, we saw politicians going on their knees, begging voters to vote for them. For the first time, we saw politicians apologizing for the wrongs that they have done in the past. Whether or not that was coming from the heart, we don't know.
So is this actually positive for the electoral empire?
Yes, of course.
For
the electoral
putting so
empire.
many checkpoints that we don't have emperors any longer.
I am coming to that because what I thought what happened in this election was that a lot of political camps were dislodged. A lot of godfathers, if you like, were also dislodged. Foundations were shaken. If not for the extension that INEC had, of course, because of technology for the gubernatorial election, for the March 11 election, I am sure we'll have seen even more surprises. The politicians, of course, will have to go back to their old ways to rejig, like what we saw in the March 11 election. It was sad, like Nicole had mentioned, the concern around vote buying. We saw places where voters were induced with even alcoholic beverages.
Oh my God.
This is how bad that, I mean, what the politicians think or make of an average voter, give them alcohol, confuse them, and then they get to vote for us. Or places where we saw them giving voters spaghetti. How much is spaghetti, for God's sake?
They weaponize poverty of sorts.
Exactly. And so, talking about them, these are people that even have no shame. I mean, what does it mean that you are in one party together, you are in bed with this politician, that you are accusing or insulting the other politician, tomorrow you move to the camp of that politician because they don't even understand what is their own party ideology. For them, it's all about interest. For them, what they think of their party is just platform for ascending to whatever power they want. Once they get what they want, they move on to the next interest. And it is shameful that this is happening. If you think about PDP, the APC, all of this, not that they don't have constitution, or they don't even have, they have what they believe in. They have, for instance, if you go through their manifestos, they have concrete plans of what they believe that they want to do or achieve for Nigeria. But of course, these are all shrouded in the sort of personal interest that all of these people have. If they are not able to grab it in this particular party or this election, the next cycle they move on. So for me, I think these are people without shame. These parties have ideology. It is just individuals that don't even have the time to go through what are even some documents of these parties
just
to
desperate to get power.
The context of this. I think that is where the problem lies.
Okay, well, how do we address this now? In Delta, for instance, you know, voters were induced with alcohol. In Kano, the same thing in Benue State. In Kano, spaghetti. In some places, they said wrappers. They take a wrapper which will not even cover
one meter.
Yes.
One
so
meter.
How do we address this? Because they have weaponized poverty.
I mean, it's something,
and a new means of inducing voters, right?
So I think something has really, just as Paul said, something unique has started in this electoral cycle. The young people have actually, we can say, have woken up to the realities of governance. So one way we can help limit what we saw in this last election, subsequent elections, is to get, not just get young people involved in politics, but then get young people with the right ideology. So is to begin now to educate the next generation, have more platforms where they can go through mentorship, have more platforms where they can go through mentorship from the right set of people. Because the guys we have now actually have some form of mentorship. But if
you think they have? Because
they have some form of mentorship.
I have this fear that there are some, especially for the State Assembly, that they never expected becoming legislators. They are ill-prepared. So are we not in for the worst?
They are ill-prepared because their own mentors also were ill-prepared.
So garbage in, garbage out.
That's the thing. So you don't expect magic to happen. You have someone that does not really believe in the ideologies or in the vision of a better Nigeria. You don't expect that person to groom someone that will believe in a better Nigeria. So it's about, okay, if my leader, as we call them, my leader got into this position through hook or crook. So if I have the opportunity, if he places me there, I will also do the same thing. So it's about getting the right sense of, right kinds of mentorship to mentors to begin to mentor our younger people, the younger generation. And
okay, and Nicole, based on your studies, we are running short of time.
Sure.
Yes. Who should we blame for this undue delay? This is over 48 hours, and only results from 17 states have so far been declared. In Sokoto, you know, we have some issues. Of course, they said, especially for the State Assembly, this was election conducted 2 weeks ago. In Adamawa, inconclusive. In Benue, and all that. Is it the professors that we brought from universities to superintend this process, or the politicians who are confusing the professors, or INEC, the technicality in compiling the result?
You're trying to get me in trouble with the rest of my academic friends here. I think there's actually blame to kind of spread around, unfortunately. I think depending on the coalition center and the states, different issues were experienced. Some issues saw violent disruption, and that is something that whether you can officially blame parties, politicians on or not is of course questionable, but for the safety of everyone, they do have to leave. They have to slow down the process. I think INEC bears responsibility for the fact that this is their process to manage, and if they had done it well and done it to the level of expectation, security would have been in place to make sure that wasn't an issue and that they could do the process well, and to ensure that all of IREV was populated and done quickly and easy to compare. And so I do think there's still some blame to be put on IREV or on INEC's feet. I would love to say that no, academics have been amazing, but unfortunately, I have
you see them midway saying that okay, we are going in for break. Unnecessarily, you know.
I've also seen some addition
unexpected
errors.
hours, you know, going out to break, and then they will come back.
Yes, so I think part of it is that I've seen addition errors, which I just don't want to see from people with PhDs. But so I do think that unfortunately the blame is kind of in multiple on multiple people's. I think there is less of a sense of urgency there should be. I think there should be a sense of urgency that we sit and we do this until it is done and until it is done well. And like you said, unfortunately they'll break for dinner for 4 hours.
Yes.
Or things.
And they cook a lot of meals. You know,
cook a lot of meals.
Allegedly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think yes, the sense of the full weight of the responsibility might not be internalized. I think for some of the people who are working in this field. So I'm gonna pass the buck to and say everyone's the problem.
Okay. Everyone.
But that means everyone's the solution as well.
Okay, fine. We have in the studio Jamilu Mohammed. He's also one of our analysts, and he's here to share some his thoughts on some of the happenings across the country. Welcome to the program, Jamilu.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, initially I wanted us to listen to Abdul Wahab in Adamawa before we now analyze, because you are from Taraba.
Yes.
We also have the spokesperson of NNPP from Taraba who will join us later.
Okay.
But going to Kebbi State, for instance, inconclusive, right?
Yes.
What is your take on that? It's like inconclusive elections are becoming part and parcel of our electoral process in Nigeria.
Yes, I understand that it is in the law, but in the occurrences, I think we cannot say it's been very much occurring. For instance, in this case, we have Kebbi, we have Adamawa, and I think
as inconclusive.
As inconclusive. I think to be fair enough to the system, if you look at the percentage of states that conducted the elections, and then the number of states that have come up with inconclusive results, I think it's fair to say that it is a fair game. Otherwise, if we had maybe about 10 states going inconclusive, then we start asking questions. Then maybe we say there's a game plan on that. But otherwise, I think we should take it to be something fair in this context.
So is it that Beavers, IREV, and all that, they are working, giving room to filter? Because you can see some of the issues INEC raised is that maybe where they did not conduct election or where they cancel election, if you put the figures together, maybe they are not up to the number of people who collected their PVC in those areas. So it's like we are really making use of figures and data in general.
Yes, we are using figures, but I won't credit that to say Beavers or IREF in this instance. It has happened even before Beavers and IREF.
Okay.
But in this case, what we are having now is Beavers has actually worked.
Okay.
Yes, we have seen the result of the actions of Beavers. I will give you certain examples from Taraba State.
Okay.
Or let me give the national figures first.
Yes.
You would see that in some instance we said there is a kind of voter apathy. 24% of registered voters actually came out to vote this time around. And then the results, I made a fair analysis of the whole results.
Okay.
Yes, in the national scenario. Now, if you have about 167,846 polling units,
electoral wards.
Electoral wards. Now, it is fair to say that this is our mini communities.
Okay.
Socially,
okay.
we will say this is our mini communities. So if you divide the number of registered voters, 93.4 million, divide by 167,846,
yes,
you will get roughly about 1,273.
Okay, individuals per ward.
Per ward. Sorry, the national population of about 200.
Okay.
And 25 or 220 million.
Okay.
If you divide that, you will get about 1,273 people
in
each of the polling units.
And this includes maybe children, not of voting age.
Yes.
You're talking about the population.
The population. Okay, now break down to the 93 million voters.
Okay.
Okay, you will get that on the average, each polling unit has about 529 voters. Registered.
Wow.
Registered. Okay, out of the 529 registered voters, only 141 voted per polling unit.
Oh my God.
141 people voted per polling unit.
This is quite scientific.
Okay, if you go down, you would find out that the winner, our president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was voted by 50 persons per polling unit.
50 persons?
50 persons per
polling
unit.
Where in the first analysis, that
particular community has 1,273 people.
Oh my God.
But registered voters, 529 registered voters. Okay, out of these 529 registered voters, you have only 50 people who voted for our winner. I think this is sad for our democracy. It's actually sad. If you look at the figures, it means there is non-participation. So it's difficult to say, okay, you've voted someone who would come democratically to work. I think this is something our system has to work on.
Okay.
INEC has to work on this.
Okay.
So I think by that, I think I would say Beavers has worked some wonders, has removed some, we used to know that politicians' figures. Thank you for putting that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, talking about Adamawa, actually Abdul Wahab, he is the returning chief returning officer of SDP, Social Democratic Party, and we carefully brought him as somehow, can we say, maybe neutral or whatever, to hear from him. Okay. And that's why I said, okay, now they shifted the election, right? They say it's inconclusive in Adamawa because they are unable to conduct election in 47 wards, affecting 69 polling units. Yes, and I think we'll have him now. Let me see whether we will have him. Abdul Wahab, if you are with me, the extension, the suspension of the election or whatever they call it, is it worth it? Because we could not have election in 47 wards affecting 69 units.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. Yes, go on.
Thank you for having me. In Adamawa State, we have 4,104 polling units.
Yeah.
In the March 18th, 2023 governorship and House of Assembly elections in Adamawa State was a naked dance of shame in the marketplace.
Wow.
Because voting did not take place virtually in almost over 3,000 polling units out of 4,000.
How do you
So,
mean? Because at the collection
cannot
center,
say,
Abdul Wahab, how do
we in
you mean?
SDP,
You say virtually voting did not take place, but the presiding officer said it did not only take place in 47 wards affecting 69 polling units.
This is, you see, the issue is, INEC was just announcing the concocted and the manipulated results they were submitted to them. But in the real sense of it, real elections did not take place in Adamawa. What really happened was areas they could assess, they sent in voting materials, and the government officials and others went in and induced voters and bought the vote buying. That was what happened. So when they say it's inconclusive, it was the two parties which had access to government treasury, who had a lot of funds to buy the votes, were fighting, but most people in Adamawa said over 3,000. I said over 3,000 polling units. People did not vote according to their conscience. So what are they talking about? That only 47 voting areas or whatsoever were cancelled.
Okay, you were at the collation center. Have you raised objection during the collation?
I did, really I did. I even submitted it in writing. I submitted the position for SDP in writing. For every election results collected, I raised objection. I cannot imagine, just look at it. Let's look at this naked dance of shame in the public, in the marketplace. Places like Madagali, an area that was overrun by the insurgents. What you are telling me that they voted 37,000. I believe in the whole Madagali local government, including everybody, our goats, sheep, and everything. You can't get 37,000, let alone voters.
Okay.
So really, there was no voting in Adamawa.
Okay, the presiding officer, Professor Mele from University of Maiduguri, he said Binani scored 390,275. And the incumbent scored 421,524. There is a difference of 31,249. Before the election, your candidate, Dr. Umar Arbo, his name was being mentioned. How much did he fare, during the election? What votes did you people score?
Thank you very much. Yesterday, I had to address the press and give the position of the SDP.
Yeah.
Dr. Umar Ardo, on March 15th, on Wednesday, March 15th, addressed the press, and he drew the attention of the people of Adamawa that the March 18 governorship and House of Assembly elections was already rigged before the ballots were cast.
Wow.
These events
were
caused by the nationwide broadcast by the president calling on the people of Adamawa to vote the APC candidate. That led to Meta as the Lord of the Minor. All the security agencies which are critical to the elections, the NBC, Central Bank, INEC, ensures that she had free access to media broadcasting, which were denied to our opponents.
Yes. Welcome back, Mr. Malaki. Let me start with you. Atiku and Peter Obi, they have all gone to the presidential election petition tribunal challenging the victory of Tinubu. What is your take on that? Is it the right path to take?
Yeah, it is their fundamental rights to adopt a legal means towards resolving a dispute. However, I believe that if we had done the proper thing as a country, and I mean INEC, there would not have been any need for us to go and meet a panel of 7 members to decide on the fate of more than 200 million Nigerians. It was INEC that dragged us to this particular cul-de-sac. But be that as it may, those who feel dissatisfied have gone to court, and they've done the proper thing. Not from the perspective of those who will say go to court. No, it is from the right perspective of gentlemen, patriotic Nigerians who have decided to ventilate their disagreement with what, the declarations that were made. So they've done the correct thing, and that is what the law stipulates.
Yeah. Mazi, what is your take? You can see Malaki just took the blame to INEC, that if they had done the right thing. Yes. But INEC has announced results, and the figures are there for everyone to see. Yes. Tinubu scored the highest.
According to INEC.
Yeah, according to the results collated from...
Yeah, but according to INEC, because we, the Nigerian people, are disputing what INEC announced. So according to INEC, and they are the only one, constitutionally empowered to so do, to conduct election and announce winner. However, like my colleague said, indeed, the blame goes squarely to the table of INEC. If INEC, followed its own rules, followed the as provided for in the Electoral Act, and ensured that there was transparency and that all that they promised the Nigerian people was followed through, we won't be challenging it. INEC clearly disappointed the Nigerian people. Also disappointed itself, because severally on television, various media appearances, the INEC chairman, not by proxy, the INEC chairman held on to the process that they have set, for this election. He insisted that this was what was going to go on, how it was going to go and all of that. But eventually,
like what
it didn't,
what?
It didn't come out the way.
For
instance, the presidential election, which is what we're discussing now.
Yeah.
At that very day, beavers walked, right? But transmission, as provided for, as they promised, they set that rule. As they promised, the National House of Reps and the Senate was easily transmitted, but that of the presidential contest could not work, and all of that. That is now the human angle, ensuring that what INEC set as the rule did not, was not followed through and all of that. Outside that, we also saw that, just like the story that just came up now, that is the Abia conclusion of the Abia election and all of that. Now, if you follow the trajectory of that, what happened, right? That's what INEC ought to have done at the national level. INEC had room to revisit whatever complaints the stakeholders had against what was being announced. And they promised they were going to do that. But like thieves in the night, 4 a.m. while Nigerians were sleeping, INEC announced who they said is now the winner. Well, like my colleague said, what the other candidates have done, the aggrieved candidates have done, is go to the right channel instead of fanning the embers of discord and conflict and all of that. We won't burn down our nation because INEC failed. But honestly, INEC did fail itself, did fail Nigeria, and now appears like an enemy of democracy in the most populous black nation on earth. It's unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Okay, Malaki, but Atiku and Obi are claiming that they've won. Who do we trust? Who do we give it to?
Well, it is within their ambit to make such claims. If you go to the market and he's carrying yam and I have yam and you have yam, all of us will be saying our yam is the best.
Yes.
That was why I put the blame to INEC, because prior to the enactment of 2022 Electoral Act, there were several forms of brigandage. Obasanjo introduced do or die politics, which is what is still haunting us up to today. Now, but Nigerians, through the instrumentality of the National Assembly, took steps to see whether they could correct all those anomalies by enacting the 2022 Electoral Act, which, to a reasonable extent, took care of all those things that you found. Now, you discover that you can't blame Atiku. You cannot blame Obi. Neither will you blame the APM people that also went to court.
Yeah.
Now, but the issue is that it was INEC that brought about all these things. I am one of those people who have on several occasions met at a media stakeholders meeting with Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. And he promised heaven and earth. I was one of those who asked him, Prof, I doubt that you'll be able to do this. He said, Malaki, it is not impossible. This is the law. Section 64 and down.
Yeah.
Stipulates everything. Now, in their own electoral manual, the guidelines with which they train all those electoral officials, they also have to extra, because the Electoral Act gave them the power to distill out the procedures in giving into effect those laws.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. Just one simple thing. How can you tell me, for instance, that you will come, a particular system like this phone that I'm holding can pick your call, then it will choose not to pick Chief Irebu's call.
But it's not that it didn't pick it completely. It was actually uploading in this.
That is what I'm saying.
Some of the issues they raised, that maybe there was an information overload on the server.
Hamza, ICT is not all that complicated.
Come on.
It is rocket science.
Come on.
If I send an SMS, if I send the SMS to you now, you receive it instantly.
But Malaki and Mazi, I start to disagree, because look at it, for instance. I don't want us to deviate, but the last day that we don't have cash, that was the last day of the transition of this Naira crunch thing. You remember that millions of people could not even do transactions.
That's a different,
because there was serious traffic.
That's a different process.
Okay, let me hear you.
That requires a different process. The narrative that Malachi, right?
Yes.
Now, what referring to this phone, for instance, I take picture of you, right? And take yours also, and now post his, and he goes. Now attempting to post yours, and he says, no, he couldn't go. That's the real example. That's the real.
It's not that he didn't go, because what they told us later, Mazi, was that, of course, even the presidential, I didn't check it maybe for the last 2 days, but you know, gradually it uploaded everything.
The House of Reps and Senate held the same day.
Seamlessly.
The point we're saying, seamlessly. So that every means, that narrative is cock and bull. The point we are making here is that INEC failed woefully. There's no excuse whatsoever. 300 and something billion naira of taxpayers' money was engaged in this sham that they called election. Like I said, I refer to what the news that we just heard of Abia.
So
what the correct there did is what the national chairman ought to have done. Ought to have done that, because if let's agree, he failed. Since the process you said failed, what would you have done?
No, there is an option.
You could have reviewed it.
Malaki, right?
No,
there is an option. I'm coming.
The point is that
for the presidential, let Malaki come in, and then I will give you room to also.
The law provides the procedure.
Exactly.
And
that if it fails to upload,
anything outside the law. The law is that you do accreditation with beavers. After you've done that, it will automatically record the number. The numbers recorded on the presidential poll, for House of Reps, for Senate, all went seamlessly. Now, the second rule is that when you finish the counting of the results at the polling units, you record it manually on the result
and then you
sheet.
snap it,
and then you snap and post. That is the rule. Now, whereby any is unable to upload, you cannot go ahead and do collation, because the rule provides that you have to, if there is the dispute, you have to go back and cross-check. You review before you now come back, and then whatever you find that is uploaded is the one that you take.
That's it.
That is what the rule provides. So, insofar as I didn't do that, now what I'm waiting for is beyond the rhetorics. It is the number of people that will be punished. Punished is not for INEC to announce to us that we're investigating. We want to see the real punishment. Starting with the INEC national chairman.
Yes.
He has to be punished.
Yes.
Because he cannot take all of us
because yes, we have a lot to discuss.
No problem.
So I want us to move to another point because we're trying to
peruse the meat of this whole thing about the election.
Yeah, we're trying to peruse some of the items listed by these candidates at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, and that is why I said we just have to manage the time we have. I was shocked because I went through the petitions. I have one here of Mr. Peter Obi.
It's a 100-pager.
Yes, but maybe this is the abridged. This is just the abridged. But I was shocked. I didn't see claim that this election should be cancelled simply because it was not uploaded. Are the lawyers being clever by half?
No. First of all,
by not listening among the first top 5.
If you listened to my candidate, and but the people's candidate, as far as I'm concerned, if you listened to him, and he has been consistent on that part is not his interest. His interest is the process.
But it's a process. I think the uploading.
Yes, I'm coming. The process. First, the process begins with qualification. Qualification of the aspirants.
Yeah.
That's the main process.
And I've seen it in the petition that he is not qualified.
Yes. The Tinubu, by law, he's not qualified, but we'll go to court on that.
How do you mean? Okay, explain. No, you have to tell our leaders.
We're in court already. We'll explain that to you in court.
Why is he not qualified?
Clearly, by the prayer there, you see that, of course, the case on issue of drug-related crime, as provided for in our constitution, anyone who has been found wanting in this direction cannot, in fact, beyond the law, how can we have someone that is linked to a crime as heinous as drug-related?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. Allegedly, yes.
I think Festus Keyamo responded to you today. Festus Keyamo, have you read the response of Festus Keyamo?
We don't listen to response from spokespersons. As far as I'm concerned, we have gone to court on this matter. The court will prove to us whether Tinubu can go ahead and with all the baggages and be president of Nigeria. That's one.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and follow us live on YouTube. I still have Mala Yusuf Zongo in the studio. He's our in-house analyst, and of course, Clement Oloyede, our Bureau Chief, joins us from Kano. Mala Zongo, before we went on break, you had the intrigues. Yes, how PDP was reduced to almost nothing, because what they garnered during this season, less than 15,000 or 15,000 and some hundreds throughout the gubernatorial election from all the 44 local government areas in Kano. Are we right to say that it is about individuals? Because this same Abba who won, as I said earlier, who won this time around, he garnered 1,024,000 votes in 2019.
But Clement said it. Actually, the vote in 2019 was not for PDP, but for the Concoursia movement. And now the Concoursia
so they migrated with their votes.
And got their own independence. And when you look at it, since 2015, there has been that running battle within the PDP in Kano. So that pushed Shekarov back to APC, then to NNPP.
They traded
the people like Aminu Ali have been there, but over time their electoral fortune is dwindling, and there are no other party members who will take up from them and move the party forward. They seem to have denied everybody access to the ranks of the party. So I think it's not unexpected to me.
And as Clement said, you know, during the convention of the party, of course they said they have zoned the national vice chairman to to Northwest, specifically Kano.
exactly.
And Kwankwaso had his
Yeah.
candidate. Why do you think party at the national level? Because it's like they are creating these problems for themselves.
No, I think
both APC and PDP, when you look at it, they are just having some issues at the center.
Yeah, Clement said it as much because they started their calculations right from that time because people like Aminu Tambo wanted to take the party.
Exactly, so to get advantage for the presidential
level,
ticket.
Exactly, for the presidential ticket. So people like Aminu Tambo came in and ganged up against Kwankwaso. And when the zoning came, it was zoned to the Northwest, but specifically they said Kano should produce the vice president. But they ganged up and they went to Kaduna.
Maybe to checkmate
Kwankwaso,
right. Believing that maybe if they go for the convention, he might likely have an edge because of his pedigree.
They never allowed the convention to take place. And in the end, he proved them wrong because he moved out of the party and look at what he
went to the south, brought NNPP.
Tambo lost in Sokoto. Shekara lost in Kano.
Oh my God.
And Aminu Ali also lost.
So who is laughing now?
Clement said it, that Kwankwaso was saying that those who denied him that now they have lost out.
Even though Tambo still, maybe, I don't know, because his senatorial
we wait for
ambition is still there. It's contentious.
We wait for the result to be announced. But as it is now, as just like what happened to Autumn, it has happened to him. Or the other governors. He is living. He brought his own person, and he was not.
Oh my God!
And the 8 years he has been there.
Yes.
And he has the backing of Bapara even in this.
Yeah,
this
because Bapara brought his son to Sabas.
So even at that. They lost.
They have lost out,
exactly.
And now he is battling to get
the Senate
from one
Senate.
Yeah.
And given that, because there were rumors that he wants to be the next Senate president, and looking at it now, that ambition may not come to fruition.
Yes. Now back to Kano again.
Yeah.
APC, the position they took of protesting. Is it wrong to say this is the lowest point?
I think for me, APC, I agree with you, is the lowest. Because simple, you have been there for 8 years and you've seen what happened to you. As I said earlier, it's a very wrong strategy to just believe that your election will go into
eternity.
Yes. So you rely on that to win. That does not make you a real winner. If you want to show, because politics is showing your support.
Yes.
So if you want to show your support right from the go, show your opponent under no circumstances is he equal to you. So from the word go, show him that he can't defeat you anywhere.
Yes.
But to rely on and to make it, to even go
to circumvent the norm.
Exactly. And
to get advantage.
Protest for who? For what?
It will not work.
Honestly, I think it was a very, very
wrong approach.
Wrong approach. If I were them, as they said the other day, look, we do not agree with this election, there are procedures.
Go to tribunal or accept defeat like the Zaparaman.
You remember that what happened in 2019? NNPP didn't protest.
Yeah,
they went to
when they were PDP then. Exactly. When they were. Yes, Clement, if you are there, now what are the hopes of APC now in Kano?
Okay, thank you. Let me go take a little back and ask the devil's advocate for the APC.
Yeah, because we will still bring them. We will still bring them to the studio.
Yeah, when Malam Zango said that was their strategy. Actually, that was what we observed to be their strategy. And that was what NNPP later accused them of using as a strategy. When I spoke with some of them, their argument is that in those places where election would not go, it was not as a result of their making. They actually even accused them of fomenting in these places, and they believe that those results will have favored them if the election had held. The same allegation NNPP is also putting forward. If election had held in all these places, the margin will have been way higher than what we currently have. Back to your question, which is, I believe
there are options now, there are hopes,
APC. Yes. the options are very clearly said. Malam Zango has already hinted at one of them, which is the tribunal. But before the tribunal, the Electoral Act provides for a 7-day window for review, where the electoral umpire is able to explain that there are issues in the declaration. And this is the first approach that APC is taking, asking INEC to use that provision of the Electoral Act to review the decision of the returning officer within 7 days. You remember our story a day or so before yesterday, a day before yesterday when they had that press conference, was that they were giving INEC 7-day ultimatum to review itself.
Yeah.
That is the first approach. That is the first strategy. Get INEC to review this. And INEC has done that already in this same Kano, in this same election cycle. You recall that during the the presidential and national assembly election, INEC already announced Alassane Adodogo as the majority leader, as the winner of Togo federal constituency. But when more facts came up, and it was obvious that the returning officer had to make that declaration on duress, he did not do the right thing he was supposed to do. The electoral umpire said, "No, you are not yet the winner of this election. The rerun is going to take place." So this is what APC is banking on at the moment. If you remember, when they had a press conference, Alassane Dogo was also part of those that spoke to the media. And he was emphatic, using himself as an example that, okay, they've done it already to me, so there's no reason why they should not do it again. That is the first approach. Then the second approach is what the law has provided. Like Malam Zango said, if you are not satisfied with the process, the tribunal will start sitting. Make your case to the tribunal. The court will decide. And it's not just the tribunal, you have appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has set aside a lot of elections, despite the so-called winner taking months or even years in many cases. So the unopened laws, like you said, like Zango said, take it to the street. The approach, especially looking at how volatile Kano has been in the past days. As a matter of fact, because of enemy put to a lot of people did not go out, a lot of schools did not open, a lot of shops did not open until later on when we learned that NMC has suspended the protest. Protesting in the street of Kano these days exposed people to hoodlums. When APC had their protest yesterday, hoodlums attacked a lot of people. I also had an encounter with them. We had to drive recklessly and find our way out of this place. So that is why a lot of people were arguing that, okay, when there are provisions on what you can, which is one, ask INEC to review itself. Secondly, go to tribunal. There's no need taking to the street because you know that people, some disgruntled elements can take advantage of it. So to somebody answer your question, these are the two options ahead of them.
Okay.
The second one, the second one is ahead to be seen.
Okay, the last question I will ask you is, some people have started having, a second thought that the people that voted NNPP, they paid a big price during celebration because many shops were looted, allegedly, by jubilant youths of NNPP. The leaders, have they spoken to apologize or to give a commitment to pay traders, market women and all that, whose sources of livelihood have been plundered by these talks?
Okay, first I would say, to the best of my knowledge, there has been such a commitment or such a declaration by the party, and that is expected. They saying that they are going to pay compensation is the party admitting that that carried out these atrocities are members of the party. That is not established. NNPP position at the moment is that their attribution were infiltrated by members of the other party to cause havoc. The other party, which is APC, is also accusing them of unleashing mayhem on people. But what is clear to everyone so far yet is that on the day the result was declared, a lot of properties were destroyed, which include the Kannywood musician. His property was set ablaze, was vandalized. And this is someone that was known to be actually not in support of the NNPP in the election period, was in support of the APC.
Welcome back. Yes, Prof. Very difficult to isolate politics from economy.
Oh, yes.
Yes, today at the appeal court, I want to have your take. They upheld the election of Governor Adeleke of Osun State. Is it a surprise, or maybe you anticipated something like that?
Well, it didn't come to me as a surprise. I had anticipated it. If you go by the outcome of the, the recent elections that, we had, especially at the one of the February 25th, 2025.
Yeah, that's the presidential election.
The presidential election. I think PDP won in Osun State.
Yes.
So it goes to show that...
including the even State House of Assembly elections.
Yes, we had...
They made a fantastic outing.
Oh, yes. So that goes to show that Osun State is possibly a PDP state.
Meaning that the election they held, the off-season which brought Adeleke, maybe it was the voice of the people.
Oh, yes. That's what it points to now, clearly. Yes.
Elias, you share the same sentiment?
Like trusting politician, I'm sure APC will also want to explore further to proceed to possibly Supreme Court to see what happens and to test the law itself on the issue of overvoting, because you agree with me that at the point of the tribunal, it was not the same compared to what happens at the appeal court. So I think they want to test and go for that, and that will strengthen democracy the more, I think.
So you mean that it's fair enough to proceed?
To proceed, I think it's
instead of conceding defeat?
It's always good to test the law itself. If you look at what happens at the last presidential election, a lot of issues happens, but by the time you have a solution to the common overvoting situation, I think that will put an end into such issue, and it will be a reference point. So I think it's better they explore further.
Okay, Prof.
But the Court of Appeal has said, has ruled that there was no evidence of voting.
Yeah.
So in my view, I would, advise that, they should just
allow the man to go and work.
Yes, and then join hands with the government of the day.
Maybe akin to what Governor Matawale of Zamfara did. He conceded defeat.
Yes.
The governor of Zamfara State,
Yes.
he conceded defeat to Dauda Dare of PDP just yesterday.
Even at Lesotho, the incumbent governor also...
yes, because this court cases amount to, well, in my view, distractions. You are not allowing the chief executive to focus on governance.
But sometimes we also need to strengthen the democracy itself. And by testing those things also bring much more.
Elias, I know we're over-testing the judiciary because...
the fact is maybe we should unbundle INEC. By so doing, maybe that will reduce that. Because if the work of logistics is not within them, maybe they have to focus on a particular area, I think that will be better.
All right.
So we should maybe look at unbundling INEC itself.
Okay, and you've seen even APGA, it was today after all the election that they resolved, leadership tussle and all that. It's like, of course, they say judiciary is the last hope of the common man, but it's like we are overstretching the energy of judiciary in Nigeria.
Overwhelmed.
Well, I think strengthening democracy, we have to look at that too. We also need to strengthen it and get it right at some level. So if you look at the issues, they are not issues that are repeating itself. There are different issues coming to court. So we have to also do that and strengthen that.
And I can see what they are citing, like the APC in Osun, is to test the efficacy of beavers, right? How you now align what is uploaded and what the beaver said and all that. Maybe by the time they get to the Supreme Court and we will have a precedence, then meaning that going forward we will not go back to that
Another issue is also coming up in our democracy now. People are now demanding that they want party agents to be at the server end of INEC. So that when we say there's overvoting, where does it come from? Because if party agents are at the end, at the back end with the INEC itself, they can even see it. Yes. I know, like clearly that this is not overvoting. But now, for now, they don't have access to the back.
Back
it is
end
what
and all that.
They bring out that this. So sometimes they want to see that, and that's where we are going. If they can also allow that, and it will be clear, we don't need to go to court. It's clear to me that it's not overvoting.
Fair enough. I hope we get it right. Now back to the subject of the day, Prof. How did we get to where we are? At the introductory part of this program, I asked some pertinent questions. How did we arrive here? Decision December to end in December 31st, extended to January, Supreme Court and all that.
Well,
I would say if you look at the policy on the face of it, going by the objectives outlined, you wouldn't really be faulting it.
Okay, that is the cashless policy.
Yes, the cashless policy. If the central bank, argues that currency redesign is usually implemented every 5 to 8 years, in other climes, and that in our own case we've not done it for years, 19 years, or so. So that provides justification for doing that. The central bank also said at the time that so much cash was circulating outside the vault of the banks to the tune of 2.7 trillion, and that there was need to take off mop up some of that in order to enhance the function of the central bank, which is implementing monetary policy. There was also the issue of the fact that too many notes were old, mutilated, damaged, and again the need to ensure that they were out of circulation and they replaced with the new ones. So a number of reasons given at the time, objectives, one would say, lofty. But what happened, in my view, where the thing went wrong, in my view, has to do with the planning.
Okay.
At the planning stage, I think the entire thing was rushed, and we now saw that manifesting even during the implementation. I give an example. The policy was announced, I think, on October 25. But it was not launched
to be effective.
Yes,
December
until
31st.
December 15th. December 15th of 2022. That was when the new Naira notes. They were meant to go into circulation, even though the unveiling was done. Remember, some weeks, some days before then. But in actual fact, the new notes didn't really get into circulation or get into the hands of people not until January in many cases, because I recall that the central bank's cash swap program, which was meant to take these new notes to rural communities, didn't commence until January 23rd. So it was too close to the deadline, initial deadline of January 31st, and that was what also necessitated the shift in the deadline. So in my view, a lot went wrong at the planning stage. Another example of what I think was not properly taken care of has to do with the volume of new Naira notes that was also printed. If you were taking out 2.7 trillion, if that was your target, and you chose to just print and issue, we had 300 billion or 400 billion. That was, of course, grossly insufficient. And amid all that, the issue of also ensuring that even the much you have done, is well distributed, is not cornered by a few individuals. I don't think that aspect was also properly, handled. So when you have all this, that was why we had this issue of, serious cash crunch, serious cash scarcity. I also recall that about the first week of January, or second week of January, one could even see these new Naira notes. Yeah. But somehow, as time went on, by February, the whole thing dried up. You couldn't even
because
see
they are not longer even legal tender. So it's like they are store of value.
Yes.
I don't know.
So people were just
keep them for security.
Exactly. And even when the central bank issued a cash withdrawal limit, initially they said 20,000. Yes, the banks were not having enough of this.
They give people 3,000, 2,000.
Yes. And ATMs were not, being loaded with the currency. So that was what created the real cash crunch, and we have seen the impact.